Alright. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Nathan and welcome to Nate Abroad. If you don't know anything about me, I am originally from Los Angeles, California, and I have been living abroad for about 9 years now. I left the US when I was 18 years old, and now I work as a traveling online Korean teacher at Smarter Korean. So today I wanted to come to you to talk a little about a story, the beginning of my story, where I went to university in Korea and my life as a freshman, particularly a Black American freshman in a Korean university. So I did not go to university at all, or college, as we would call it back home, in the US. I never stepped foot in a college class ever in the US. I did my entire university career abroad. It started off in Korea, and if you're wondering why I went to university in Korea, I do have a video about that, but to kind of recap on that, one, university in Korea is extremely cheap, compared to the US at least. I would say my tuition for 1 year in Korea was about, I think it was like 4,000 US dollars, maybe 5,000, which is a hell of a lot cheaper than US universities. And the second thing was I already spoke Korean, and I went to a Korean school in the US in Los Angeles since I was 14 years old. So yeah, so my first year as a 신입생, so the word in Korean for freshman is 신입생, 신입생. And when I was a 신입생 in university in Korea, the first thing that starts off when you enter university is you have an orientation, just like anywhere. And this orientation, I remember it started at about 5 o'clock in the morning, or maybe it was like 5 or 6 or something, I can't remember, it was hella early. And I had just moved into my first ever apartment or studio. So it was my first time ever living alone. I had my own space, and I lived in this really crummy first floor, like ground floor, Korean studio apartment that was pretty old, and yeah, it was kind of gross. But I was happy as hell because I was living my dream. I was living in Korea, and I just got accepted into one of the best universities in Korea. So I was really happy. And I went to this orientation, and I was super nervous. I was shaking. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I was getting myself into in the first place. And I remember walking up into this giant auditorium, and there was like certain people who were like staring at me, and they came up to me and they spoke to me in Korean, and they were just like, are you, and my Korean name is Ji-seung. And when I had applied for university, I wrote on my application as well my Korean name. And they were like, are you Ji-seung? Ji-seung-shi? And I was just like, yeah, I am. And they were like, we've been waiting for you. We were notified that you would be here. And basically in Korean universities, at least how mine worked, is when you are accepted, you have your major. And then within your major, you have different sections. And these sections are basically going to be kind of like your family. They're going to be the people you predominantly hang out with the most. Whenever you have university gatherings, group meetings, this kind of thing, you're going to be in your section. So I was in a particular section called Nansek, and it was from the literature, I believe it was in the literature department? Yeah, because my major was Korean literature, and so yeah, we were part of Nansek. I believe there were other sections within it, but anyways, they came up to me and they were like, yes, you're in this section. And I walk into this giant auditorium, and a lot of parents come with their kids, or yeah, kids. They're a lot of parents come with their newly accepted freshman kids to orientation. So there was a bunch of Korean parents there, and everyone was staring at me. I was the only foreigner. I was literally the only foreigner. As far as I can remember, I didn't see anyone that looked remotely foreign. There was one girl in my major who was Chinese, but besides her, I think it was just us. So, yeah. And people were just staring at me and whispering and not like in a bad way, but just like, there was definitely shock. It's not every day I think that you see someone that looks like me going to a, in Korea, kind of Ivy League or one of the top elite universities. It's not very common. So by the end of the orientation, some people came up to me and they were just like introducing me to other people, and people were trying to figure out my story, but I was hella shy at the time. I was really, really shy, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to explain my story to them, like why am I in Korea? So yeah. So also another thing about Korean universities is after orientation, I would say, I believe it's maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks into getting into university, after university starts, you have to go on a MT, all right? So an MT, anyone who goes to a Korean university or has been in a Korean university knows this word, MT. So an MT is a university trip that you take, typically to the mountains. You go to what's called a pension. And these pensions, as they're called, are like kind of like guest houses that you can rent in Korea for vacation, but they're pretty big. They're really big. They have a kitchen in them. Typically, there's different bedrooms or giant common rooms, and so university students rent these out, or universities rent these out for university students to go to for social gatherings. So when I say social gatherings, you just get really, really drunk. And so I remember the leaders of our section, the Sunbae. So Sunbae is someone who is higher than you, so like a senior in university. So you have Hube, which was what I was as a freshman, and then you have Sunbae, which is anyone who is in a higher year than you are. So the Sunbae were, packing our, I think we went in a bus. So they rented a bus, and the Sunbae were packing tons and tons of soju. I'm gonna try and find a picture that I took at the time of the amount of soju that was taken, basically Korean vodka, Korean rice liquor. They packed this bus with soju, meat for Korean barbecue, and that was it. And we went on our way to this MT up in the mountains in this, this kind of guest house, kind of cabin-like thing, and we played a ton of 술 game. So 술 game is like drinking games. And I couldn't play any really well. One, because I suck at playing games, and number two, playing an alcohol game or drinking game in Korean after just arriving in Korea and being intoxicated at the same time, it was a no-go. It was a no-go. No, I couldn't do it. So, needless to say, everyone was really, really drunk, but the Sunbae were really, really kind to me. They knew that I was going to struggle with it anyways, so people would take turns for me anyways and drink. So, yeah, it was cool. It was really fun. So yeah, you had typically in university in Korea, you have at least 1 to 2 MTs a year, I would say. I think that was probably one of the last ones I ever went on, the first and last. People always ask me, how was I treated as a freshman in university in Korea? As a full-time student, how was I treated? I was treated pretty well, honestly. I didn't have any issues in university in Korea. I didn't have any issues with discrimination from other students. being black and speaking Korean, people definitely were confused, and a lot of stories were made to kind of, I guess, people needed to figure out who I was. So there was a lot of rumors about me. I think I mentioned in my last video, there was rumors that my parents were missionaries or something from the US and they had died, and I ended up living in Korea. There was rumors that my mom or somebody or my grandma is actually Korean and that's why I can speak Korean. All types of things that were all false. But yeah, so I was treated fine. I had no issues with making friends. People were really, really nice. People were really curious. The one thing I didn't like though was definitely, you know, being called like 흑형. So 흑형 is a term that's used for typically black guys in Korea, or black guys in general by Korean men. 흑형 comes from 흑인, which means black, and then 형, which is like older brother. It's supposed to be a cool term, like for like, you know, like a tough black guy, but Koreans typically use it for any black guy that they come in contact with, 흑형. And I think a lot of people that I first came in contact with in university in Korea, they typically guys, Korean guys, they saw it as kind of like a cool thing to have like a black guy friend or something. So I think at times people weren't necessarily interested in me and who I actually was, but they were more interested in the fact that I'm black and I'm a foreigner who can speak their language. You know what I mean? So there was issues with that, but in the end I still ended up making really great friendships. Another question that I typically receive often is, how was studying in a Korean university? My major, like I said, was Korean literature, and so it was really hard. It was really, really difficult. I didn't know what I was getting into. At least I would say for the first year, things were, it was just a lot of difficulty adjusting to the Korean system, like actually in a Korean university, how they grade things, how the classes just work. There's typically a lot of group projects, which are called 조별 과제, and I hated these things. I hated these group projects, and you have to do them typically for every single class you have. So working in a group of people for me is just a no-go. So yeah, it was a struggle. And finals and midterms were really hectic and really crazy. People would, the school would stay open 24/7 during this time. People would literally sleep in the library, sleep in classrooms, sleep in the hallway. People would be like drinking in between as well. There would be like drinking parties in between finals and midterms as well to kind of brush off the steam or whatever. It was a lot. University in Korea was really intense, but it's something I'll never ever forget or ever regret doing because it made me who I am today. And so I offer Korean lessons for any level. I have a company called smarterkorean.com. Please check out my website if you're interested in learning Korean, whether you're learning Korean from the very beginning and you need to learn how to read and write, or whether you already know how to read Korean and you want to start learning how to actually piece together sentences. Or if you're an advanced student, I have classes for everyone. So be sure to check out my Facebook page, Smarter Korean, as well as the Smarter Korean online Instagram. I hope to see you guys in my next video, and comment if you have any questions or anything that you're curious about, and I will definitely make a video about them.